Welcome to Living Your Path. I am Cecile Ferry, a coach and astrologer. I'm here to guide you on how to live and work in alignment with your true self so you can find fulfillment and serenity. Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome to your Cosmic Catch-Up for week commencing the 13th of April. So just a reminder that this episode is pre-recorded. It's actually the 6th of April right now. I am 24 hours before boarding my flight, and I really couldn't wait to talk to you about this week. So what a big week that we are having. It may be a challenging week if you are someone with a lot of water. This may be if you in particular have a lot of Pisces energy in your chart, for instance. This is a very different contrast, and this is very yang. So I have already spoken in the last couple of weeks with the energy ramping up, and this is like the peak this week. So I told you late last week we had Mars joining the gang in Aries and activating all those placements that have already been there since late February. And so there's already a turbo of energy in there. And as Mars got into Aries, it came really close to Neptune in Aries. And we're still feeling that today on the Monday. Mars is going to give us a lot of energy to take action towards our dreams, which Neptune represents. It will also give us some opportunity to face some illusions, maybe some unrealistic expectations that we have in that part of our life. But it can also create a bit of confusion because Mars is all that action, but Neptune can create a little bit of a fog sometimes. So things could be unclear. So I have already said it last week. I'm saying it again because it is still at play at the beginning of this week. Is if things are not clear at all, don't push with the action. Just wait for clarity because it will come, okay? But if you know where your dreams are, if you're connecting from the vision, then, you're getting the impetus to take some action. And also we have a very supportive aspect at the beginning of this week between Venus and Jupiter. Basically, it means that there's a really harmonious alignment when it comes to your love life, your finances, and your self-worth. So happy days with that. Now, things are really picking up even more from Tuesday, Wednesday. So Wednesday in Australia, and it will be Tuesday late in the US and in Europe. The planet Mercury is moving into Aries. So Mercury was in Pisces for quite some time because it made its way there and then it went retrograde for a couple of weeks, if you remember, and then it's been moving direct for a while, but it's just been regaining the path that it had been going retrograde on. So it feels like it's been there for a long time, and we're going to feel the shift because into Aries, our thoughts, our mind, our communications are going to be speeding up, and they're going to be really direct. They're going to be very fast, very sharp kind of thinking. In Pisces, it's more fluid. It's more about being in touch with our emotions and intuition. Whilst in Aries, it's saying, okay, I know now. Therefore, I'm ready to move. I'm ready to act. It's also time for a lot of honesty in our conversations. Be careful, not too much honesty. So just watch out from Wednesday this week. You may be potentially speaking too quickly or too bluntly because literally we have all that sort of energy into our mental minds and into our voices and our words. But it's a beautiful time for clarity. So if you're feeling the fog before, like by Wednesday, the clarity will be there. And as Mercury moves into Aries, it will also be conjunct Neptune. And that is beautiful for your intuition and for your imagination. So you're going to be like visualizing a lot of things. I love that because I actually have this conjunction in my natal chart myself. So I know exactly how it feels. It's like you plug in your rational, logical mind with your intuitive mind. So you have vision, and it's just the perfect coupling because it goes straight from the intuition and the vision into words. And it's just a very powerful mental tool to have. So you be not only sharp and fast, but you also be very in tune as well as you're doing that. So that's from Wednesday. Okay. And so the next big event that's happening is on Friday. There is a new moon in Aries. More on that in a second. And the day before, on Thursday, the 16th, the sun will be closely conjunct the planet Chiron in Aries. And there is something that you need to know because it will impact your new moon. And basically, we have to deal with that aspect because what the sun will do, being close to Chiron, it will highlight our wound. Chiron is the planet of the wounded healer. It represents where we have been wounded, but also where we need to heal that wound and therefore then live a greater life because we have healed from that wound and we can help other people with it. The planet Chiron is in Aries. It has been there for some time. And so collectively, we have been dealing with wounds around our sense of identity. Chiron in Aries says, I don't have a right to be here. I don't have a right to take all that space. I am not enough. Like, it basically makes you want to shrink who you are. And this is going to be highlighted. And so you may feel very sensitive around that kind of issue around Thursday, but it won't build up as the week goes by. So be mindful, and you will probably have those feelings, and they're not very pleasant, right? But that will get kind of reactivated under the transit this week. And the new moon happens the day after, right next to it. So it is part of the story. And I'll get to that in a minute. So you get it. We need to do some healing on ourselves this week. When we feel that wound coming up, we may have a tendency to feel really bad and low and blame ourselves, or maybe blame other people and feel like, oh, I really can't do it. I don't have a right. I'm not good enough, pretty much is what it says. So we need to release that this week. This is the opportunity to go, that's not true. That's a story I'm telling myself. I have a right to exist, and I bloody exist here. And really release that sense of not existing fully, not being able to take up space. And this really calls for self-leadership and inner confidence, rebuilding from the inside out. I am going to rise and sense that inner pull in you. And then on the Friday the 17th, we are moving into the new moon in Aries. That is a big event because it's the beginning of the astrological new year, like I said, at the equinox, and this is the first new moon. So you get it. It's very loaded. It's really the new beginning of the next 12 months. And being a new moon, it's a rebirth. It's a fresh start. It's an opportunity to start again. So it's happening for everyone on Friday in New York at 7:51 a.m., in the UK at 12:51 p.m., and in Australia at 9:51 p.m. in Sydney. And it's happening at 27 degrees of Aries. So go and have a look where that is located in your birth chart. This is where the energy is blooming for that new, fresh restart. So Aries gives us a truckload of courage to take some action, and not some kind of little brittle action, some confident, some may say bold action. It doesn't have to be like the most spectacular breakthrough thing. Don't feel like you need to do something outrageous and so radical, but it has to have that confidence about it. And it needs to be decisive, it needs to be direct, and it needs to be an action. There is some movement happening from that point. This new moon is a new spark for the next 12 months in your life. And there is enormous amount of Aries energy in the sky throughout the week and under this new moon. Something we rarely see. We will have 7 planets: Neptune, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, Chiron, the Sun, and the Moon, all in Aries. That is a huge stack. This is like fire on steroids. So there's a tremendous amount of energy that is fantastic for that new start for you. It's literally the fire horse really happening. I can't think of a better metaphor, but it happens to be the Chinese year that we are in anyway. So picture that. That horse is absolutely running and galloping throughout the week that we have. So what I recommend you do is you set some very clear intentions. You will have all the support for that. Mercury will bring you clarity. Maybe make that your top 3 goals for the next 12 months. And maybe you can go back to the goals you made at the beginning of the calendar year 2026. This is a very good time to go and revisit and see how far you've come. If you're still on track, if they still resonate with you, no problem pivoting at this stage. But set some very clear, nothing fuzzy, nothing wishy-washy, nothing too broad and generic, or things that, you think you should go for. Because if you don't feel that in you, it won't have the same power. This is about becoming the leader of your own life. This is you taking the reins and going, let's go. I'm going to go after this and I'm going to do this. This is not a time to be held back by fears, by doubts, or by the wound of, I'm not really good at this and I never really amount to anything. Like all of that negative self-talk, you need to leave it behind under this week and this new moon. Feel the strong sense of power and courage. And you also feel a lot of speed this week because of all those planets. Not to mention, we also have a supportive aspect from Pluto with all those planets in the early degrees of Aries, which means there is deep transformation at play, which we may not always see. And it's not always conscious, but trust that also there are some underlying transformative currents at play too. So you being really ushered to move forward. And again, we have this perfect combination of planet in the early degrees of Aries. We have Mercury, Mars, and Saturn together. Mercury is for your mind and your words. Mars is your action. Saturn is your strategy and your structure and your responsibility. Can you imagine when you put those 3 people? It's like, imagine you have a team. Someone is the great thinker, someone is the great doer, and the third one is the great manager. And you've got them all together. Imagine the horsepower to build something, to launch a project and see it to completion. This is what we have this week. This concentration of planet. It's just not just any planet. It's those very useful planets to help you build something. And something really durable, long-term, solid for your life. They say change your life. I don't take that sentence lightly, but I really believe this week, this is the spark, the ignition for you to do that in one area of your life where those planets are falling. Okay, you get the chance, you get given the horse, literally with all the brain and all the strategy and the smart thinking to go with it. So what are you going to do with it? Do not waste that energy. This is great time for you to make things happen and manifest in your life. And I've already said that, I'll say it again. It's not things that will happen really fast, monetarily, and will show up overnight. That's not what we're talking about here. Here we are talking about long-term change. We're talking about something that you're not going to rush and you're okay for it to take some time, And by the way, it will probably take some effort and some strategy and some hard work. This isn't an overnight instant thing, right? But it's worthwhile for you. You know it, and you know you've been called. You've been seeing that in your vision. So you're actually going to start this week, and you're going to really set that intention under the new moon. So my tips to recap under the new moon: get clear. Get really clear with yourself. Leave the wound behind. Write down your goals, your intentions, what you want to manifest, what you want to achieve, what you want to build for yourself. And then make a plan, because you have the Saturn energy. Start writing down. You may not know the full plan, but how you're going to get started. And then take one action. Take, I would say, a calculated risk. Under Aries, you're going to be pushed to do things, and maybe normally you wouldn't have the courage to do those things. You can this week. So it's like, this makes me think of Asterix that drinks the potion, right? And gives him all those extra powers of strength. That's what you have under this week. So use that to your advantage. And I want to say also, focus on you. This is a week to be self-centered, to really tune in for your goals, where you are going, your own sense of leadership in your life. I'm sure you've got lots of people that need you, that rely on you, and that you love to help and guide. And I'm not saying you post that, but don't miss the boat for you, because without that, you're not going to be the right person for them anyway. And your job is to lead your own life, not just to serve everyone endlessly. So really be mindful to put you in the picture first this week, and to make time to think about those questions about your goals. And I will finish by saying by Sunday, and it might be even across Monday, but it will build up from around the new moon, Mars will then conjunct fully Saturn, which is a beautiful time for focus and discipline, for getting stuff done, for being head down productive, because Saturn gives you the plan, Mars gives you the energy. So it's great, but see how you need to have the clarity beforehand. So I don't know what you've got on next weekend, but around Saturday, Sunday, the energy is very supportive for that dedication, that productivity. So don't waste it just lolling around, doing nothing. If you are clear on what you want to get done, you will have all that energy, put it to the right use on the weekend. So all up, it is an intense week. There is a lot of Aries supercharged energy. It's very much our fire horse is going to get up this week. It's, again, I remind you, a very good time to move your body, to physically move that energy. So through physical exercise, even if it's just walking, dancing, like move your body, move with the energy. And if it feels too much, which it might be, especially if you're quite a sensitive person, if you're more a water sign, the beauty is we have Venus in Taurus at the moment, which is in the next sign, which is yin, very yin. So use this to balance out all the yang powerful energy. Go out into nature, look at beautiful things. Like last night, I saw a beautiful sunset. I had a very chilled afternoon. And I found that this was a beautiful counter to otherwise all the raw power that we feel. So make sure you go into nature, or you stare at the window, or you give yourself a really nice time of self-care. You have a beautiful bath, just something to ground yourself if you're feeling that there's too much power right now. So I'm going to leave it here, but what a week, my friends. I cannot wait. I am going to be in the south of France in Nice for the new moon. And I really look forward to kind of really seeing all that energy playing out. Next week, the sun will enter the sign of Taurus. So again, things are going to change, but a lot of the planets are still going to be in Aries for some time. So we do have that window, especially until the 6th of May, where all the planets are direct. That's not going to stop. It's not just this week. You will still feel a lot of forward momentum until the month of May. But April, and especially as we get into the second half of April, is really loaded and intense. So ride this wave. Like, this is go time. Like I've been saying, let's dive in and use all that great energy to create something really significant in our life. I really wish you great success with harnessing that energy and to have this beautiful fire horse taking you in your life where, you're called to be, to do those great things and to reach different levels, to really grow yourself up to that potential that, has been sitting there and you've known it for some time, but you're ready for the next step. So that's what is really starting to come through this week. And it's most exciting. So have a beautiful fire week, my friends, and I will speak to you next week. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.